My fellow Jamaicans, thank you for joining us for this end-of-year update as we reflect on the state of crime and public safety in Jamaica for 2025. This year has been one of sustained effort, disciplined execution, and clear resolve on the part of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. It has not been without its challenges. However, it has also been a year in which strategy, accountability, and partnership have translated into measurable outcomes for the Jamaican people. In 2017, our beautiful nation recorded in excess of 1,640 murders. At that time, we had made the resolve that we will never get back there. That year, we recorded the third highest number of murders in our country's history. And so we have used that year as the benchmark year with which we measure our progress today. At the start of 2025, we made a clear commitment to consolidate the gains of previous years whilst intensifying our focus on violent crime, particularly murders and shootings. As we stand here today, I can say with confidence that 2025 will be remembered as a year in which hundreds of lives were saved and violent crime was significantly reduced. Let me begin with what is perhaps the most important indicator of public safety. Murders are down by 43% nationally. As at December 20, 2025, Jamaica has recorded 649 murders, representing 487 fewer murders than the same period in 2024. This is not a marginal improvement. It is a substantial reduction, and it reflects the cumulative impact of intelligence-led policing, focused operations against gangs, enhanced firearms interdiction, and the commitment of our officers on the ground. One of the fundamental truths behind the progress we outlined today is that none of this happened in isolation. The gains we are seeing in crime reduction are not the result of police action alone. They are the product of deliberate alignment, shared resolve, and sustained support across the state and wider society. I want first to thank the government of Jamaica for believing in the policing plan that was laid out at the start of this journey, and critically for backing that belief with the financial resources necessary to execute it. Strategy without support is theory. What we have demonstrated this year is what becomes possible when vision is matched by investment. I must also recognize our many stakeholders who have stood firmly with the Jamaica Constabulary Force throughout this period of transformation. In particular, I want to commend the Police Service Commission, whose support has been instrumental in ensuring that the right people are placed in the right positions at the right levels. Effective policing is built on leadership, competence, and continuity, and that support has strengthened the institution in very tangible ways. To our community leaders, I offer sincere thanks. Many of you have worked quietly and tirelessly, often behind the scenes, helping to calm tensions, rebuild trust, and restore cohesion within communities that have experienced trauma and division. Your partnership has helped to turn vulnerable spaces into safer ones, and that contribution must be acknowledged. I also wish to thank the Jamaica Defence Force, who have stood shoulder to shoulder with us in the trenches. Your operational support, professionalism, and readiness have reinforced the state's capacity to respond decisively to serious threats, and your partnership remains invaluable. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what success looks like. It is a product of a unified state, working with purpose and cohesion. And let me be clear, criminal networks cannot prevail against a state that is aligned, determined, and resolute. It is in this same vein that I offer the Jamaican public this assurance: the gains we are seeing are sustainable, provided this level of cohesion, support, and partnership continues. As long as the state remains unified, as long as communities, institutions, and security forces continue to move together, we will continue to protect life, preserve order, and strengthen the safety of our nation. This reduction means hundreds of families have been spared the trauma of violent loss. It means communities that once lived under constant threat are beginning to experience relief and stability. And it sends a clear signal that violent criminality is being confronted with precision and persistence. When we look at other violent offenses, the trends reinforce this progress. Shootings are down by 32% compared to last year, and reported rapes declined by 27%. Taken together, these figures point to a sustained reduction in the most serious forms of violence. While we remain acutely aware that even one violent act is one too many, the downward trajectory is undeniably encouraging. At the level of overall major crimes, Jamaica recorded a 13% reduction year on year. So significant is the reduction in violent crimes that even while there have been relatively small increases in two areas, namely robberies and break-ins, there is still significant reduction in overall major crimes. My fellow Jamaicans, these outcomes are not accidental. Throughout 2025, we continue to refine our operational posture, deepening the integration between operational policing and the intelligence community. This allowed us to identify, disrupt, and dismantle networks responsible for violent crime. To those who persist in organized violence, the message remains unchanged. We are patient, we are informed, and we will not relent. Our presence on the streets has also been a critical factor. The continued expansion of visible patrols, including foot and motorized patrols, has enhanced deterrence, improved response times, and strengthened public confidence, particularly in high-traffic urban spaces and commercial districts. Let me now turn to performance across police areas, because the national picture is built on divisional results. Area 1, which is comprised of the Trelawney, St. James, Hanover, and Westmoreland divisions, has delivered some of the strongest results nationally in 2025. As we know, in past years, this part of the country represented the largest contributor to increased violent statistics. This year, Area 1, led by ACP Glenn Miller, represents the greatest source of reduction. Across the western parishes, murders and shootings have fallen sharply, and overall major crimes have declined significantly. Murders have plummeted 57%, shootings are down 48%, and overall major crimes have fallen by 35% across western Jamaica. St. James recorded a 58% reduction in murders, moving from 124 last year to 52 in 2025. Westmoreland achieved a 61% reduction in murders, while Hanover reduced murders by 54%. Trelawney, while maintaining relatively low numbers, also registered a 46% reduction in murders and meaningful reductions in overall major crimes. These outcomes reflect strong leadership, disciplined operational command, and sustained pressure on violent actors across the western region. In Area 2, which includes St. Ann, St. Mary, and Portland, the picture is more mixed but remains manageable. St. Mary recorded a reduction in murders, while St. Ann experienced an increase, reminding us that progress is neither automatic nor uniform. Portland, where there were serious concerns with respect to murder at the earlier part of the year, is now experiencing a 23% reduction. I want to pause to commend the efforts of the management and staff of the Portland Division for their response to what could have been a more problematic outcome. These trends reinforce the need for precision-based interventions, particularly in smaller divisions, where even modest numerical changes can have outsized impact. Area 3, led by ACP Calvin Allen, continues to demonstrate resilience and operational focus. Clarendon recorded a 42% reduction in murders, alongside reductions in shootings and overall major crimes. St. Elizabeth achieved a 50% reduction in murders, continuing the recovery that began in the latter half of last year. In Manchester, murders declined by 38%, although other crime categories require continued attention. The results in Area 3 underscore the importance of sustained leadership and adaptive policing strategies in responding to evolving crime dynamics. With respect to Era 4, if we place some focus on the Kingston and St. Andrew metropolitan area, we'd see that there is significant progress. All divisions in Era 4 recorded reductions in murders, including Kingston Central with a 33% reduction, Kingston West down by 43%, St. Andrew Central down by 62%, St. Andrew South, one of the toughest divisions to police, reduced murders by 38%. These outcomes are particularly important given the density, complexity, and historical challenges of policing the corporate area. When we turn to Era 5, which comprises St. Catherine North, St. Catherine South, St. Andrew North, and St. Thomas, the data shows solid progress against violent crime in 2025, particularly murders and shootings. St. Andrew North reduced murders by 50%, while St. Catherine North and South recorded reductions of 33% and 40% respectively. These are significant outcomes in divisions that have historically carried heavy crime pressures. St. Thomas, while recording only a marginal reduction, continues to maintain relatively low numbers. Shootings have also declined across most of Era 5, reinforcing the impact of intelligence-led operations and sustained firearms interdiction. However, we have seen increases in reported sexual offenses in parts of the area, reminding us that our work must remain balanced, strong enforcement, but equally focused on victim-centered policing and prevention. Overall, Era 5's performance reflects disciplined leadership, steady operational control, and meaningful progress in saving lives, even as it remains a key strategic focus going into 2026. This year, there has been considerable public discussion surrounding police fatal shootings. While these incidents remain the subject of ongoing investigations, it is important to place the issue in its proper context. Once again, we urge members of the public, particularly those engaged in criminal activity, to comply with the police instructions. When confronted by law enforcement, escalation is a choice, and it is a dangerous one. The police are trained, equipped, and mandated to protect life, including their own. Raising a firearm against the police will not end well. The best and safest option is always to lay down the weapon and submit to lawful authority. It must be clearly stated that the Jamaica Constabulary Force's preference is, and has always been, to preserve life and bring offenders before the court. The data from 2025 supports this unequivocally. To give context to the discussion, we have increased operations by over 70%. This means that there are more than 100,000 interactions between police and citizens over the year. While we are not happy with the increased number of police fatal shootings, the number represents less than 0.3% of all police-citizen interactions. Let us also remember that our focused deterrence strategy aims at throwing significant amount of resources around the highest risk targets. These are persons who have made a life of killing people. In spite of this, we have and will continue to appeal to these individuals not to meet us with violence, as they can rest assured that our pursuit in bringing them to justice will not relent. I strongly believe that if all Jamaicans can join us in this appeal and these persons take heed, we can have far fewer fatal shootings in 2026. These figures are critical. They demonstrate that in the majority of encounters with armed assailants, police officers successfully de-escalate situations, secured firearms, and preserve lives. Each of those arrests represents restraint, professionalism, and adherence to the rule of law under extremely dangerous circumstances. We cannot allow the national conversation to focus solely on fatal shootings while ignoring the hundreds of instances where officers disarmed gunmen, prevented violence, and brought offenders before the justice system. The broader picture tells the true story of policing in 2025. The Jamaica Constabulary Force remains committed to lawful, measured, and accountable policing. even as we confront increasingly armed and violent criminal elements. Our aim is justice, not confrontation, and the evidence shows that, whenever possible, life is preserved. As Commissioner, I am deeply proud of the men and women of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. The results we are seeing in 2025 are the product of long hours, difficult decisions, professionalism, and exceptional support from our stakeholders. But let me be clear, crime reduction is not a destination. It is a continuous process. The work of policing does not pause because the numbers have improved. We must remain vigilant, adaptive, and committed to further reducing violence while strengthening public trust. To our partners across government, the justice system, the private sector, and our communities, thank you. These gains belong to all of us. And to the Jamaican people, your cooperation, your information, and your confidence in the force continue to be indispensable. As we look ahead to 2026, let us carry the momentum of this year's achievements. Together, we will address the challenges that remain, build on the progress we have made, and continue to work towards a safer and more prosperous Jamaica. Thank you.